Our thoughts and strength and love to everyone who is currently battling these floods. Floods that extend right across New South Wales. Heavy rain that's expected to be happening here in Queensland for the next couple of days as well. The Warragamba Dam, well, it burst its banks and they opened the gates on it just a couple of days ago, the consequences of which is going to be pretty damn serious. But one thing we can never take for granted at times like this is your fellow Australian who stands up to help. Your fellow Australian who does not care whether they know you, don't know you, whether they've been fighting with you, or whether they have never met you. It's something special about this country. It's something that we should never, ever, ever be taking for granted, which is that we are there and always there to take care of each other. There's been plenty of examples of it. There'll be plenty more. I'll give you some little bits of information, particularly for those around the Sydney region, about some help which might be coming your way very, very soon. We're also going to have a chat to the most important people, the ones that are actually affected by this. We'll go live to those people all over the state of New South Wales, and if we have to, anywhere else in the country, because that's what matters. But first, it seems obvious, but there is near record rain which has been falling in Sydney today. Here's the Bureau of Meteorology explaining just how big this weather event has been.
For Sydney, today is definitely the wettest day, but tomorrow we are still expecting those wet conditions to continue. It will shift to the lower Blue Mountains and highlands of the Illawarra tomorrow as the focus areas.
The concern is that despite what has happened this weekend, that it could be getting worse on the fringes of Sydney in the next couple of days. Here's the Premier.
We are now envisaging a 1 in 50-year event. Yesterday, we were hoping it would only be a 1 in 20-year event. It looks like it will be a 1 in 50-year event, and that means potentially another 4,000 people may be asked to evacuate in and around that Hawkesbury region and parts of Western Sydney. We'll know in the next few hours whether that's the case, and we ask everybody to please continue watching the information and to follow advice if you are asked to evacuate.
Of course, other problems have existed in the mid-north coast region of New South Wales, where almost everything from Foster to a little bit further north of Port Macquarie has been deeply, deeply affected by all of this. Here's some of the people that our reporters have had the chance to talk to over the weekend.
Yeah, we're definitely worried. I mean, we don't like to see our town washed away.
Can't get home. I've got the 3 kids at home. I just thought I'd duck in and see if we can get into town, but yeah, it looks like a few days yet.
I've never seen so much water. Like everywhere you go, there's like cattle in the oval in the middle of Wingham and horses, and yeah, you don't see that very often.
No one's saying anything. I've actually been up to the guys and they said, well, the road's blocked, it's flooded. And I'm going, what, do I sleep in my car tonight?
Now, just like when it comes to bushfires, we have professional people that are part of our emergency services, but there are literally tens of thousands of people who answer the call when nature does what it has done this weekend. Members of the SES, literally thousands of people have been calling these volunteers for help. One of their bosses joins us in a couple of minutes, the Minister David Elliott, the Emergency Services Minister. But first, here is part of just how much work they are doing while the rain is still falling, knowing, of course, when it stops, there'll be a whole lot more to come.
Call-outs vary dramatically. No surprise, significant number of those calls are flood-related. But with the strong rain or the heavy rain, did come strong winds. So we've seen quite a number of calls for damages to buildings. We've seen plenty of footage in relation to the mini tornado that went through parts of Sydney.
Now, as you saw, something that has happened because of the amount of rain that has been falling all over this part of Sydney, particularly up towards the Blue Mountains, and it all feeds back into Warragamba Dam. You know by now that Warragamba Dam was opened in order to get water out of it, to make sure that there wasn't a more aggressive spillage than what you're already seeing here. But we read today via the Daily Telegraph that there may well have been an opportunity to do this a little bit earlier than it actually took place, to make sure that, yes, there was going to be a flow of water, but it wasn't going to be as dramatic. I've got some family members that are in this part of Sydney, so understandably I'm nervous for them, but also everyone else who we've never met, who we hope are able to get to a higher ground as soon as possible. And also we know there's going to be an awful lot of mess that has happened as a result of the size of water, the amount of water, I should say, that was overflowing from Warragamba Dam in the past little while. Now, whether this Would have been a different scenario whether the long-held plan to actually increase the wall of Warragamba Dam, well, that would have been able to, of course, hold millions of litres more water, but whether we're dealing with those, as the Premier says, one in a generation, maybe even one in a 50-year, even a little bit more events, we'll get to all of that a little bit later.